All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us for our collaborative work management webinar with Microsoft Teams and Planner. I'm Erin Boyle. I'm the marketing manager at Marquee 360, and I also have on the call with me Mia. She's going to do our technical portion of the demo today. You want to say hi, Mia?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, Mia. So a little bit about how we're going to do things today. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about Marquee 360. We're going to talk about Microsoft Planner, and then we're going to talk about collaboration. Mia's going to give the demo, and then we have time for Q&A afterwards. Although we have it at the end, please feel free at any time throughout the presentation to put your question in the chat or even unmute and ask a question. We like an interactive audience, and we want this to be as helpful as possible for you all. So please just feel free to go ahead and ask any questions. All right, so a little bit about Marquee 360. We are a Microsoft partner for project and portfolio management and also collaboration. And we work on the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. So what that means is any of your apps, Planner, Teams, Power Platform, that's where we excel in giving you applications to help minimize all of your manual processes and let your team focus on the work that really matters to you. And to go a little bit deeper into that, so we focus on the work management platform, and we've been in the Microsoft space, project space for over 20 years. So we've been working closely with the project team with Project Server, Project Online, and now Microsoft Planner. So we've been through a few iterations, and we like to keep tabs on what new innovation is coming down so our customers get all of those updates pretty quickly, and we can keep up with the technology that Microsoft is pushing out. Our huge focus is on the Power Platform, and that's where Microsoft is focusing a lot of their new technology and upgrades. And that just gives us that low code, no code platform where you all can take some development into your own hands in your internal teams and gives you just some more power on that than having to rely on custom coding. We focus a lot on customer success, so we work very closely with your team during requirements gathering, making sure that you're getting everything possible that you need, and also with post-implementation, hypercare, support, training, workshops, adoption, whatever your team needs to be as successful as possible. And we're going to go a little bit into Microsoft Planner today. So if you all are familiar with Planner, you've started diving into it. If you want to just raise your hand so we know who's a little bit more familiar, maybe who's not, that would be awesome. So oh cool, we have some people who've dug into it. Awesome. So previously we had to do Planner and Project for the Web as all separate solutions. And to do, if you're not familiar, just gave you your own work to focus on, your own tasks in one place. And then you had Planner where you could look at some plans, some buckets, that Kanban board. And then you had Project for the Web where you could do your assignments and some of those deeper project management, like task dependencies and things like that. Now Microsoft has brought all those things together and called it the new Microsoft Planner. So all those things that you could do before, you can still do today, but it's all in one place now. So you're not having to jump from to-do to Planner to Project for the Web. It's all together now. And that gives us that modern UI, the Kanban boards, that flexible styling with all that functionality. And they've even brought in some new functionality and are bringing new stuff like baselines and color conditioning. They're just constantly enhancing the Planner platform, so keep looking out for those. And we push those out. We try to educate our customers as much as we can on what's coming and what's new, because it's constantly new things coming out. So that's all on Planner. So like I said, you can build your project plans now, create dependencies, assign tasks, create goals, baselines, and now it's even more intelligent because you can use Planner, Copilot in the Planner preview. So you get all that AI enhancements now with Planner. And then we can even take that a step further because, like I said, they are pushing out enhancements. But if you're managing a large PMO or you have a lot of projects, a lot of resources, we've created a Power App called PPM 360. And this just extends the planner capability to be a little bit closer to what you're used to with maybe Project Online, if you're familiar. So we can do an intake process, timesheets, portfolio and program management, Power BI report packs, all within one place. So you're getting all those capabilities in the Planner platform. And I'm going to pass it over to Mia to talk more about just the collaboration piece today.
All right, thanks so much, Erin. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at kind of where we were with these different applications, and then also where we are now, how Microsoft is working to bring everything together so that each member of a project team can contribute in a really easy and streamlined way. Part of what we'll look at today is how we can manage our individual tasks, but also how we can collaborate and what some of the best practices are that are built into what we've gotten from Microsoft. We'll get to see some centralized task management. We'll be able to look at some real-time collaboration. And then, of course, task assignments and tracking progress with those tasks. We'll look at all of this by looking at the new planner and walking through a couple of different scenarios to show what Planner has to offer. And with that, we'll go over into our demo. I am going to first, maybe I think, head over to our browser. Erin mentioned in the slides that, before things were very separated. The way that I used to run my day is that I would start out my day logged into Microsoft, right? Anywhere in 365. And from there, I would start to access different parts. I would go to do, right? And look at the tasks that I have assigned to me. I can see here, tasks that I think are important, some that are planned, some that were assigned to me from different project managers, some that are my flagged emails that I just made a personal note to follow up on, and then my own personal tasks, right? Things that I wanted to remember to record in this example. So I would check here and then I might say that some things are really important. I want them to be part of my day and make sure that I finish these today, right? As the day goes on and I move past my personal tasks, I would also want to go over to my projects and start to view those. And projects, there's a whole Microsoft project product family. Here I'm getting projects from, the default project environment from PWA because I still use Project Online and Project for the Web. So everything came together here. And then, of course, I would also track different things in Planner. So when I'm looking through all of these, I would also go to Planner and start to look at these items here. If I created a plan for a project and we were collaborating on certain tasks, this is where I would used to come to check the progress of all of those. So you can see that as I would go through my day, there are all these different places to go. What Microsoft has made a really big effort to do recently, and is to bring all of these different things together. So instead of feeling like I need to go, to one app and then another app and then maybe a third app, what they've done is bring everything together in a couple of really nice ways. So I'm going to minimize this browser window for now, and then maybe we'll take a peek at it later on. But one of the ways that things have come together, and this was, maybe in the last year or so, is that in Outlook, they started to incorporate to do. So it's another place where I can see these tasks that are assigned to me, my self-assigned tasks, and of course the flagged emails. This was a huge help because of course we all spend a lot of time in Outlook. A lot of us have email-based systems that require us to, communicate in this way. So this was really helpful to be able to see the to-do list plus the emails that I need to catch up on in one place. But even more recently, with the new planner, it's taking it several steps above that or beyond that. So now I'm showing my Teams window. Of course, a lot of us will spend our day in Teams. Even if we're not actively in Teams, we'll have it open somewhere so that we can chat with people, view our activity notifications to see if somebody mentioned us or tagged us somewhere. We'll use this for document collaboration. And with everything that we can do in Teams to stay a part of our team and to make sure that our team is updated and that we're updated on everything that our teams are doing, it was a natural and logical thing to bring together all of the task management part here into Teams. As we look at this, what you'll see on my menu in Teams is that I have the new planner here. If you don't have this yet, it is something you can really easily add. The more options menu here, you can type in planner. A lot of times it is the first one that shows up, but you can type in planner and then add it to your menu on your own. And when I click on this planner part of the menu, we'll start to see how our previous to-do list comes into here, along with our different projects and our different assignments. So looking at this, right? Before that first part of my day, I would open up to do and view this. But now instead, I can come over to Outlook. Everything that was in to do previously, my tasks and my day, they're all here too. So everything that is assigned to me from different project managers on their project plans will show up here under my tasks and assigned to me. My flagged emails also display here. So as I'm going through my inbox, if there's something I don't have, time to fully jump into at that time and I flag it for myself for later, it'll show up here. So it's kind of an extension of my to-do list. And then my private tasks. As I'm going throughout the day, sometimes I'll be talking with people like Erin and I talk quite a bit, and we have a lot of ideas about things that we can do for a webinar or something that we can do to help to support our customers in some way with documentation. So what I'll do is create a private task for myself here. And then this all option here allows me to see all of my tasks from all of those different areas. So looking through here in the plan column, I can see tasks that have been assigned to me from different people's project plans, my flagged emails. We'll see the private tasks are all in here too. So it's a mixture of everything in one place. If there is something that I'm looking through here and I realize I need to really prioritize this, what I can do is I can add this to my day. And now when I go over to my day here, this is where I'll see all of those different items that I want to prioritize my focus on for today. So looking at this, I already did have one email conversation that I flagged, and I did follow up on that email conversation. So I've got one complete. We've got our webinar that we're in right now. So later on, I'll mark this one as completed. And then we see that in these two plans, I've been assigned tasks to work on. So I'll work on those as well. The due dates display here. There may be a priority that was added when the task was created, but that can help me to prioritize too. Okay, so for every person on a project team, whether they're managing their own project or if they're just, a team member that's typically assigned to tasks on other people's projects, everything shows here. So this is beneficial to every part of a project team. When it comes to more of the project portion of things, previously, we would go over to Planner and maybe create a plan and then start to make assignments there. Or another thing that we might do is go over and create a project for the web project. For us also, I mentioned Project Online earlier. We also sync Project Online with Planner so that those tasks can display here too. We still do have some customers that use Project Online and a lot that use Project for the Web. So it's important to note that no matter which one you're using, Planner and that integration is a very important part of it. I should also mention that Microsoft is working on these updates still. They've done a really great job of prioritizing the items that they get the most feedback on. So as they're getting feedback from customers about what they would like to see most, then Microsoft is taking that feedback in and using that to prioritize what's in their backlog. So that's a big reason why the changes that we're seeing are things that impact our everyday lives and make things a lot easier because it's all based on our feedback. Um, so we'll see here that I do have some plans out there. So in addition to my tasks that I'll look at generally, I may also create some tasks or some plans. And then those plans will have tasks that are part of them. From there, I can assign some of those tasks to myself. I might also assign them to people that I'm collaborating with. And what we'll do here is we'll look at creating a few plans. We're going to create two different plans today because there are different plan types out there. Now, a lot of this is license based. If I am what we typically think of as a team member, someone that has a 365 license, and the 365 license will come with Teams and Outlook and all the basic general stuff. It comes with Planner as well. And if you have that general 365 license, that will allow you to go to New Plan and create a new basic plan. So we'll create a basic plan together. It is, as it says, basic. So what we'll do is we'll create that. We'll take a look around. We'll see what everybody has the option to do. And then the next thing that we'll do is we'll create a premium plan so that you can see what it looks like if you are a project manager, somebody that needs to do a little bit more than just create the plan and assign some tasks. So this would be more like the typical PM activities where you're going to take a baseline or multiple baselines, where you would be able to analyze your project a little bit more to look at critical path and make sure that everything is on track. So we'll start with our basic plan, and I'm going to just name this basic webinar plan. Notice that right away I can add this to my pinned plans. This pinned section here is a great way to be able to have your plans just show in a really easy way. If there's a plan that I'm going to interact with every day, then having it pinned is a great help. So I'm going to pin this one. And then there is a group. This is a Microsoft group that can be added. And it gives us the option to use an existing group. So when I click in this drop down, you'll get an idea of how many plans I already have out there and how much we use this planner internally. But what I'll do is I'll start to just type in one of my plan names. Right, so the COB demo project, I'm going to go ahead and select this. All of the people that are members of this plan, the COB demo project, will now be members of my new basic plan. So I'm going to click on create. It takes just a few seconds for it to create the plan. And with the basic plan, the main part that we want to pay attention to are the different views at the top. So there's a grid view, right, with different columns. So we can quickly add task A. I'm using my tab key just to navigate or move from column to column. Under assignment, we added that COB demo plan, that group there. So that means that this group is already populated with the same people that were in that COB project plan. So that saves me the step from having to go and add new people. I'll assign this first task, task A, to Erin, myself, and also Stella. We can enter in what our start date will be. And there are different things here like buckets and progress. There is a scroll bar at the bottom here so we can scroll to the side and we can choose, how we want to sort these. We can choose how we want to update these and view these different columns.
Hey, Mia.
Uh-huh.
We have a quick question in the chat from Ted. He asks, the group you added to, is that a Teams group or can you have a group elsewhere?
So it is a Microsoft group. And then what happens is that as Teams creates a team, it's using a Microsoft group to do that. So that's why when we look at that group of that list that came up, it's going to show you all of my different project names. And these projects I also created teams from. So the project creates, and as I add people to that project, it creates a Microsoft group kind of behind the scenes and then it adds that Microsoft group to this team here as well. Part of that is through our automations, but I think the takeaway here is that that'll be a Microsoft group that you'll have there. Right. I'm coming back over to Planner, and what we can do here is start to add different tasks and then update the attributes for those tasks.
And
I see another.
just before we got any further.
So yeah, group members can be from outside of your organization. Depending on how things are set up, there is also an option to have guest 365 licenses. This part, I'm hesitating a little bit to give like kind of a one size fits all answer because it also depends on, what exactly you want those outside people to be able to see and access, right? So that's something to consider. But you can add external resources if needed. You can also use the Office 365 guest license. And then I see another question in the chat. Let's see. So in order for someone in the project team, including the vendor team, to see their tasks, do all of the team members have the same license of Planner, or could they be on different licenses, basic or premium? There are a couple of different things that I want to get to there. And I'll start also with an example, right? A lot of the planner plans that I create in Teams, I'll create those and I do that purposely to share those with people that don't work for Marquee 360. As we work on our project implementations, we're working with, a lot of different customers. What I'll typically do is invite our customers' team, their team members, over into our team area. And that way, when I add them there, we can all collaborate on a plan together. With that, I'm not giving them any kind of special license to be able to come over into our team's environment and update tasks there on a planner plan. With that, just adding them to the team is enough. If I needed them to do something more than that, right, that's when I would consider, a license or an Office 365 guest license. For plans that we're creating, right, this basic plan, anybody can interact with, right? Another thing to note that may come up as a question later on is that if we start with a basic plan, we can then later promote it to a premium plan. But one of the other things is if I create a premium plan and I have people that have the ability to create basic plans that are going to be assigned to tasks, they'll still be able to update the task progress that's assigned to them. So the people that are going to typically be team members who are assigned to tasks and may need to make, their own personal plan to track their tasks, typically, that 365 license is all they're going to need. That'll give them the option to be able to update tasks assigned to them and do kind of minimal basic task management like what we're seeing here. I've got the chat open on a different monitor, but I'll keep an eye on that too, just to see if anything else comes through. And then Erin is keeping an eye on that also. Thank you so much for participating. All right. So one of the things that we'll see with these, and this is just the basic plan, we'll see that there are different views. So this is the grid view where we're moving column to column. There's a board view as well, a schedule view, and then charts and timeline. We'll get to see more about how these show. Some of these note are premium views with the little, premium symbol right there. With these, in any of these views, we have the option to open up a task. I typically do this a lot because one of the things that I really feel like I need a lot of is space, So you can always, from any of these views, open up a task and start to look at more of the details. For, the people that raised their hand earlier when Erin was asking about who uses Planner and who's familiar with it, you'll see a lot that's familiar here. So the ability to add labels. Typically, when I do work with a team, I will define some of these labels. Sometimes I make the labels into workflow stages. Sometimes I'll set up the labels so that they correspond with a specific part of an implementation. So maybe the intake form, and then maybe another one will be intake approval. The takeaway here is that, there's not really one perfect way to do this. It all is based on what project you're working on and what your needs are. Where this tool really excels is by offering each person that owns a plan or is working on a plan multiple ways to group their tasks together. So, in whatever way is meaningful for you, you can choose to categorize your tasks in that way. Those different categories that we can add, it helps you to be able to focus on the tasks that you need in order to ensure success for the project. And sometimes there are things on a project plan where we really just need to keep an eye on that thing, right? And make sure that that's moving along. It may be because it's on the critical path, or it may be because there's a resource that we think we might need to switch at some point. We can do all types of interesting things to keep that front and center. There are buckets that we can add in here. There are priorities that we can give to each task. There are start dates and due dates. If we're creating a plan and we've got a weekly call, right? The repeat option is really nice for that. We can choose that we're going to repeat this weekly. There are notes here too. So we can go ahead and, oh, sorry, I just noticed in the chat, there's a question about a way for users assigned to the task to talk with each other about the task that they're assigned to. And here we're looking at this task that's got me, Erin, and Stella assigned. For communication about a task that we're all collaborating on, there are multiple ways that we can do that. And part of it is going to be based on how your team prefers to talk and collaborate. But I think that as we move through this, we can talk about what some of your options are. One option would be the notes area. As the person that's creating this task and assigning it, one of the things that we can take advantage of is the notes area. So we can say that um, so we can put in the notes just a quick, we can put in the notes a quick note about what we're expecting from this task. This is the first kind of layer of communication here. Now, instead of, Stella, who's not on this call, just getting a notification that she's assigned to something, she now has some background. So this can help her, just being a little bit proactive and adding a note here. It can help her to know what we're expecting and what to do next. There are checklist items here. So sometimes what we'll do is add these different checklist items. So we could have that here, we're going to identify the team, and maybe this one will be Erin. We'll have review schedules so that we can look for maybe a time for a weekly call, and then maybe this will be Stella, right? So we can start to communicate with our team there also. It's a shame, to have a tool that's this great and not use it to communicate with everybody and make sure it's clear what we're looking for. At the same time, we'll still have weekly calls and things like that where we discuss what we're looking for with these tasks, but there are a lot of things we can take advantage of here to help. And then with attachments, of course, we can upload attachments here. And back to Jake's question in the chat about communication, the comments is a really important area too. So here I can go ahead and start adding comments in here as another way to communicate with the team. Okay, so I'll send this comment. And with notes, we're just adding the notes and then, building on those as we move forward. But with the comments area, these become time-stamped. So as we're conversing with each other and going back and forth, we know exactly when these happened. These will also send out notifications. So now in my inbox, as somebody replies to this, I'll get notified there. So it makes it really easy to know that there's activity on this and to know that maybe there's something that I can contribute to. So with the basic plan, we're really getting a lot here. There's a board that we can use to group in different ways. So I can start to make assignments in this way. I can add tasks here and really start to get moving. If we need to Update progress during a daily call, right? We can move things to in progress and then over to completed. We can update our labels, right? So if we have these different tasks and we want to assign labels, we don't need to open up each task, we can drag and drop. So if we're on our Teams app on our phones, right, we can just drag and drop these to make some quick updates. The priority also, right? Everything starts out medium priority, but we can go ahead and drag and drop to update the priorities on these. And then that helps to let the people that are assigned know, when we need these done. Okay, so there's a schedule view, there are charts that kind of tell us how we're doing, and then you'll see there are some premium views. We can share this plan if we want to, right? We can see the members of this group here. We can add members to this group here too and start to invite them. So with the basic plan, we're getting quite a bit already. If we go over to My Plans and now look at, the next step up, the premium plan, I'm going to go to New Plan again, and now Premium. While I'm here, just before I click on this to create the premium plan, I did just want to mention that there are templates. There are templates that come from Microsoft, and then typically, we can add templates for you too. A lot of our customers do have a set number of tasks that everybody's used to already, so we can incorporate those as a template. And that way, adopting something new isn't as scary for the team. They have something that they're used to already. And if we do start with a template, whether it's these or your own template, you can always modify that template to make changes. So now we'll go ahead and we'll create a premium plan. So our premium webinar plan, I'm going to pin this one as well. And I'm going to add that same group. This time we'll add to it, but we'll create a plan. So just a couple of quick fields and then a few seconds for it to create the plan. And it's pulling all that together right now. So over on our left menu, we can see all of our task information. We can see our pinned plans. This is great, but I do like to have a lot of space. So I'm going to just collapse this menu a little bit. And now we've got more room to look at our different columns and more room to look at our views. Notice that along this top area, we can see with the premium plan that there are a lot more of these views. The grid view that we saw before is here. The board view is here. So this is where we can drag and drop. We can create our buckets and all that great stuff. This has a great timeline view too. And the timeline view is very interactive. We can see where we are today, and we'll come back here when we have some tasks in the schedule and look at how we can use this view to our advantage. The charts we saw with the basic plan, there's a version of those here. But we also have a view where we can look at different people that are assigned here, get an idea of what's assigned to them, what's incomplete, and what's late. There are goals. So if we have goals for our project, maybe we need everybody to go through compliance training. Maybe we have different milestones that we need to report for legal purposes. So we can create all of those as goals here and then tie our project tasks to those goals. There's also an assignments view. So this helps us to fine tune, how many hours people are working on each day or each week. Further along is one of the more exciting parts of this menu, which is Copilot. Copilot's available now as a preview, but for project managers who typically have a Project Plan 3 license, they will have this type of view here that we're looking here with the ability to create a premium plan. With Copilot, I do want to, use Copilot a little bit during our time today. Copilot is great with, starting you off with some prompts. So what we can do is start to think about what we want to do here. So with this, with Copilot, we can use this to start to generate some tasks. In this case, we didn't start out with a template or anything like that. And what we can do is start to add those tasks using Copilot. Just like with any AI interface, right? You can choose, how detailed you get. And the more detailed you get with your query, the better your results are going to be. as we're looking at this here, I can view my chat history. So if there is something that I did before that I thought worked out great and I want to do that again, I can view it in my history. But for now, I asked it to add some tasks for me. And then it's letting me know that it added some tasks for a typical deployment. And then it also put them into the first bucket. So we'll be able to take a look at that in just a moment. There's an option here where I can go to the grid view. So that's a little bit of a time saver. Instead of having to click over here and move my view, it's right here with the results. We can go ahead and give this a like, a thumbs up if we're happy with how it gave us or what it did for us. And then it also will prompt you based on what I just entered in, adding in those tasks. It realizes that there might be some other things that I want to do related to that last one. So we can, take advantage of these just by clicking on them and it'll start to add some of these in for us. But for now, we can look at what it did for us. So here we've got all these tasks. And as we're looking through here, we might realize, for example, that maybe we do a lot more with testing. At Marquee 360, our testing would never be this short, right? We've got to have UAT, we've got to have our customer team involved with testing, and it's more of a process than this. So we can ask Copilot to help us with that. For closing, also, we do have a lot more that we would want to do. So I'll ask this to I'll add it to add a task for the closing stage. So for a closing stage. Right, so it's working on it. It'll let me know when it's ready, and then we'll see those tasks pop up in here. So this is a great way to get a head start, right? We've got something that is a starting point, and at any point, we can go ahead and start to update these. There's a question in the chat about whether or not we can reference another plan for tasks. That is something that we can do, right? Part of what we'll see with the AI that is in Project for the Web right now in the browser and here is it starts to recognize, what we do most often. So when we go over to Project for the Web, we'll start to see some auto-generated text or suggestions based on things that we've done before. That is part that really does help with this. Let's see. We can also, earlier we saw goals, right? We can ask it to add goals for us as well. I'm going to stop this just in the interest of time. So I'm going to ask this to add some goals, overall goals for the project that are related to growing the business. Right, so in our goals section, we'll be able to see some of those goals pop up. We did another shortcut, which was, to add that existing project team here. So again, we can quickly go ahead and make these assignments here. So I'll assign me and Erin to this project. I can add some other people here as well and make them part of this team with us. So here with this, I can simply assign her to this task or add. And when it says add, it's referring to that Microsoft group that we talked about earlier. Okay. So we can use the Copilot to give us these head starts. That part you can choose how you'd like to use it and what parts you feel like you need its help with. As we go through these, we can start to put in what our start and finish dates are and our durations. I'm going to go ahead and just add a couple of these in here. Right, we can choose with the different columns how we enter this data. And remember, the same way that we saw ourselves opening tasks to look at the full task earlier, we can do that here. So we can open this up. Notice that we've got more options than we saw with the basic plan. The labels that we saw and interacted with earlier, we can do that here. There are notes just like we saw before. So again, back to communicating with our team, we can have that in here as well. Our buckets, priorities, sprints are supported here. So if we have an agile project, we can start to identify our different sprints. The checklist items are here. Our effort too. So it saw that we have 2 people assigned with a 1 day duration, so it assumed 16 hours of work. If we need to go ahead and start to update this, we can change that. And then we can play around with our duration and effort. We can add dependencies. Those dependencies can be finish to start, finish to finish, and start to start. And if we choose finish to finish or start to start, we can also add in lead and lag time. We saw the goals earlier, so we can create goals and connect a task with different goals for our project. So lots of different ways to categorize these. There's a question in the chat. It's, does it allow import of MPP plans? And how does it handle enterprise resource planning where you have a large project team with key skills? Yeah, there are a lot of features here that align with project operations. I will say that, with that, if there is going to be resource planning with enterprise resources, there are some other things that you might need to consider in addition to this. Right now, what we're looking at is Planner, out of the box. What Microsoft also allows is that we can use Project for the Web, which, is integrating with Planner. So there's a lot of overlap there. This is exactly the view we would see in Project for the Web right now, right? In the browser. But there they do have accelerators. And if there's something that we want to do, like enterprise resource planning and some reporting is usually nice to go along with that resource planning. The accelerator is typically what Microsoft recommends for that. We do have an accelerator at Marquee 360 that we configure. We call it PPM 360. But there, it allows you to set up a resource pool. You can define whether they've got skills, you can define their time zone, and whatever you need for that resource, even time off and things like that can be incorporated. And then PPM 360 also comes with a report pack. So when you want to look at overall resource assignments for everybody across all the projects, those reports can give you a quick way to view that information. And then you can use that to make decisions about who to assign to an upcoming project. There are also resource engagement features that come along with that. Okay. I'm not sure if this will come up later on, but I'll just mention that the accelerator is also good if you want to track things like issues and risks. You may have things like that you want to track as part of your project plan as a task, but if you want to track issues, risks, changes, decisions, lessons learned, right? All of those financials, those all fit in with the accelerator. Looking at the time, we may be able to take a few minutes at the end to come around and take a peek at the accelerator and see how things look there. And then it's all built around this type of view. Some of what we can also do here are take baselines, right? Right now, there's one baseline that we can take, but pretty soon we're going to be able to see the ability to take more than one baseline. Using our accelerator, we already have the option to take more than one baseline. But what we'll see here is that as the duration increases, we'll see the baseline start and finish change. Baseline effort may increase, and we'll be able to see as we move from on track, maybe to off track, hopefully then back on track again. There are filters that we can use. So if we are only interested in tasks that are assigned to us, we can go ahead and filter there. Stella, thanks for answering in the chat. I gave that long answer to that last question, but didn't mention that we can import the MPP files. But there is an import process that we use that can bring over projects, but then there's also the option to import MPP files. The accelerator is also a great place for that. So for the accelerator, we do use a power app for that. We use a model-driven power app for the accelerator. Because there have been a couple of questions for that, and we are kind of running a little bit low on time, I am going to switch over to the accelerator so we can take a quick look. Don't worry, the things that we just saw as part of the premium plan, they also exist as part of the accelerator. So we can still continue to look at what a premium schedule looks like here. But the accelerator, we can see here, PPM 360, it is built in Power Apps like you see here, and it's modular. With the accelerator, it's a pre-configured solution that is easy to deploy, right? And then from there, what we do is we do requirements gathering to talk about what specifically you need. So our PPM 360 baseline solution is what we deploy. Based on your requirements, we may include certain parts. It's modular, so if you don't use timesheets, you don't have to have them here, but if you do, we can add them in. Um, there is a place for intake also if you need to have project ideas submitted and then reviewed before projects are created. Portfolios and programs are here too. The resource management part that Paul asked about earlier is here. And then, of course, the reports. With the reports, we do have a Power BI report pack that comes with our baseline solution. And then what we can do is tweak that. Or once we deploy it for you, you can tweak that. Part of those modifications that we can do include things like burn down and burn up charts. I'm going to open up a project here. So I'm going to navigate over to projects. And then I'm just going to open up the first project on the list. So with the accelerator, it gives you the chance to do things like have a project governance workflow to track project details, right? These are really helpful for reports. Programs and portfolios are here. Status reporting, right? Financials, resources, right? Which resources we're going to add to our project plan are listed here. With the tasks, this is where we saw everything that we saw earlier with that premium plan. So remember, we saw our baseline and our filters. Conditional coloring is here. This can help us to focus in on certain tasks. Risks, issues, attachments are here too, lessons learned. So what we do is build this around the best practices. So it helps to keep a team on track without them having to really think about it as much. Everything's front and center here and easy to access and view. All right, so this is what the accelerator looks like. What we do with our accelerator also is we sync it with Microsoft Teams. So if we go back over to Teams, right, we'll be able to see our premium plan here. And if we go over to Teams, we'll be able to see some of these projects that are all based on the projects that we see in our accelerator or in Project Online. We're able to sync this over so that we have a full team created for a project. And when we look at a team, we'll see the post tab, which is where we can communicate with everybody and, share files and sync with everyone. There are files, of course, the project details. This will show everything that comes with the accelerator. So we'll see that in just a moment. Our workflow at the top, our different tabs here, including the task tab with the schedule. Project tasks will take us directly into this planner portion that we've been focusing on today. I'm going to expand this. Right, so here we can see our tasks. We can go ahead and open up a task again, like we did earlier in our premium plan. And then we can also converse with our team here. So we talked about this earlier, some of the different ways to communicate with the notes, with the timestamped comments, the task conversations, another way that we can do that. So here we can mention people. We can choose if we want to add someone to a chat. So if I want to add Erin here, I can add her. And then once I send this, Erin will get notified, of course, that I'd like to collaborate with her on this task. And then she can join the conversation and we can work on this task together. So lots of different ways that we can keep our tasks all synced up, how we can stay on top of our tasks as different members of a team, right? So we've got our teams that sync over here with our project information. If we take it back over to Planner, which is where we started today, remember that all of our tasks can be displayed in this one simple interface. All of our tasks that we need to focus on for today, these are things that we could add to our own to-do list. Our tasks that we enter in as, tasks that are assigned from projects or private tasks or flagged emails can show here. And then under My Plans is where you can view the plans that you're assigned to, where you can also create new plans. And then if you want to quickly view the plans that you care the most about, you can pin them here to view them. So project managers, team members, everybody can come to this area and see everything in one place. So that's kind of the beauty of the new planner, bringing everything front and center so we don't need to go to all different places, but we can see this all here. If we do want to include things like the accelerator that we took a look at just now, part of what's coming is the ability to have those tasks from the accelerator also sync into here so that they can be updated easily. And then you can also see where those show up in Teams. I see a couple of questions in the chat. So in the premium out of the box version of Planner, is there a way to get reporting on all projects in parallel or only in particular or only within a particular project? So with the out of the box version of Planner that we're seeing here, there aren't reports that come along with this. Reports would need to be added in. There are some ways that you can view reporting information using Copilot to get information about your projects from there. It is really good at summarizing, where things are. Part of that also comes into looking at, resources and allocation or over allocation. There's also another question about the D360 dashboard app. Can it integrate with Dynamics Finance and Operations to update financial milestones? I will say that when it comes to financials, there's a much bigger conversation we can have about that because it all depends on how you want to see your financials. But we do have financial options that do sync with other areas, okay? Especially across the Microsoft platform. Paul, it might help if you don't mind, if you want to email us and share some more information about your question, and then maybe we can talk a little bit more about that.
I just wanted to speak to this really quickly because with Microsoft's new path with Planner, you can take two different paths with that. So you can do the light task management, collaborative work management, they're calling it, which is what Mia showed you at the beginning of the webinar. But if you do have a more in-depth PMO, more mature PMO where you have to manage more work and reporting and things like that, that's where the accelerator comes in that Mia showed at the end. And Microsoft has their accelerator, but we also have our own that gives a lot more capabilities, and that was PPM 360. So if you do need a little bit more
Mhm.
robust PPM tool, please feel free to email us and we can give you a full demo on that. What Mia showed you at the end is just a tiny, tiny portion of what that accelerator can do. And back to the collaborative work management, if you're all just getting started on Planner, you're not sure what path to go on, please reach out to us. That's why Microsoft has partners like us to
Mhm.
walk you through that journey and figure out the best licensing for you guys, the best tools, make sure you're optimizing your investment in the Microsoft platform as best as you can. I just wanted to make that clear because it can get
Yes.
confusing when we're jumping around a little bit, but I just want you to know whatever your team needs, there's definitely a path, a solution for you all. If you have any suggestions for future webinars, please also feel free to reach out with those suggestions. And thank you all for just taking the time to hang out with us for an hour today. We appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you.